One of my favorite flowers. So beautiful. And this is Maple, the most beautiful flower of them all. Hey Maple, let's go.
Hello! Today I'm going to show you how I paint butterflies, and the first one I'll do is the mask because that one's the most popular. I'm going to use a petal sponge and my spray bottle. The petal sponges that I use are by Fusion. They are my favorite size. These are the main ones that I use for everything. And that's what I'm going to use today. So yeah. So I just spray my sponge, not directly on it like this. I mist the top of it pretty liberally. I'm going to be using this one, and this is actually like 3 one-strokes in one. So I just gently rub the sponge across the colors, and when I lift up the sponge, I look at it to see if I've got all the colors on there, and I can feel too as I'm rubbing the sponge against the colors if one part of the sponge is dry and not picking up color. So yeah, I load the sponge, and I usually start on the side that's hardest for me to paint on the child, and I'm just gently pushing. I love these sponges because they hold a lot of color, but they're very soft. It's much more gentle and feels better for children when it's a softer sponge. I don't know why I think it's so funny to paint myself anytime I do it. So I just don't do it enough, I guess. Look, it's beautiful. Now I remember what the kids feel like. Okay, and then I do the other side. I try not to I try to put the angle so that it's covering up most of the eyebrow. You'll find an angle that you think looks best. I try not to move on to the other side until the one side is finished. That way it's just not back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This looks crazy on me. Okay. I'm a beautiful butterfly. Okay, and then what I do while the paint is still wet, I have a pot of glitter. And I tap the wet paint, stick my finger in the glitter so it sticks to it, and then I put some here. Mine's already drying. I'm outside because it's so beautiful and it feels so good, but that also means the paint dries faster, which is great when you want to paint quickly. But here I want to show you what's going on. I try to put the glitter in these areas, not all the way to the edge, slightly in on the tops and the bottoms, because my 3/4 inch brush is what we're going to do next. And oftentimes I do a contrasting color, so if I'm doing blues I'll do pinks and reds on the edge, which I don't know if I'm going to do that on this one. I think I would just do more purples and pinks on this one. It may confuse you guys when you see my split cakes, but this is the color that I'm going to use, which is these 4. That purple, magenta, white, and teal. This is one that I use so often that I have mirrored it. So I actually have 2 of those one strokes in this container here. And I'm going to put the darkest color on the tip of my 3/4 inch brush because that's what's going to be on the outer edge of the butterfly. And just gently, all of my paints are by Superstar, and the white is by Fusion, so they're all pretty soft paints. So I just gently dip the tip of my brush in water, load it, dip it, load it, just gently. And then what I'm gonna do is connect it to the top here so that this line continues up, kind of go up, and a nice curve into my eyebrow area. I kind of don't apply much pressure to the lighter colored end on the face. It's lifted up a little bit because I want it to kind of blend in a bit here. Anyways, I do one swoop down, and then this whole area where the eyebrow is, maybe I should zoom in a little bit more and lift you up a little bit more. Okay. Anyways, one swoop down, and then one circle right there. So it's just two shapes. And for the bottom wing, I just lay the brush flat coming out of the corner of the eye and do a swoop inwards, lifting the end of the brush up so that I'm just outlining with those dark colors, just like that. And then I try to mirror it on the other side. That's why I like painting the harder side first, the side that doesn't come as naturally, because it is easier. And then you can use the corner of your brush to fill in the area real quick. Lay it down and then do a swoop in. You can also use the dark color, the corner on the eyes, if you want to. Just look at the design and see what you think would look good on that person. Yeah, I've been doing all different things in the center of the butterflies. Sometimes I do the triangle, just a shape in the middle with some antennas. Lately I have been doing, what have I been doing? Flowers. And for the flowers, I have 1/2 inch angle. And I'm not going to go over how to paint flowers here because I'm not an expert on painting flowers. I just do some kind of florally flower shape. And lately I have been doing the leaves in the same color as the flower, just some kind of shapes off to the side. I move on to the next step before adding the second layer of the flower, which is just white. Keep it pretty artsy. Can't really do it with my eyes closed. And on them, I don't even do this many. It's literally just wiggle wiggles on this side and on the bottom, and then the same wiggle wiggles on the other side. On me, I think I am going to give myself some white eyeliner because I'm looking a little crazy. I am definitely not a makeup artist. I've never had any interest in makeup. I am totally a painter, and that's it. That's it. That looks a little bit... I like that better. Try and get the sun from shining. Oh, what I see is like super washed out because I'm very pale, so I'm really... I hope you can see this okay. And then I do the second layer of my flower. It is very loose and simple. It's something that I really, really want to work on is my flowers. I got really freaked out for a second that I wasn't filming this whole time. I wasn't gonna do it again. Hello! Okay. Quick scribbles on the flower too. You could do some swirls up. You can do dots, which I don't normally do dots and stuff because I just add glitter. Instead of the flower, you can do a rainbow. You can do anything. I'm just showing you how I've been doing mine lately. You can play around with it and see if you like painting them this way too. I'll zoom in a bit more so you can see better. I will now show on my arm how to do a cheek art butterfly, and then I'll show you some photos and things too. I'm going to use the same colors that I used on my face on my arm. Same brushes too, 3/4 inch angle, 1/2 inch flat, and number 3 rounds. And the only color I'm adding is black. So I'm going to do a side butterfly, and what I do is the furthest wing first, so I just go up and down, and then that's my wing that's in the background, and then the foreground wing is the exact same shape. And I'm coming back to this point, down, swiveling it, just like that. Any kind of shape wiggles that you want to do, just ending up back at this point here. And then I do my bottom wing, which is a swoop, fill it in there. Using the corner, the small corner of my brush with that light color, I do this kind of swirl like that, very lightly touching the color to the skin, and then I can add a bit more by turning the brush sideways. I just add color here and there. There's really no right or wrong way. I just do that to get more color on the face. While the paint is still wet, you can add some sparkles. It's time for black. I do the body first, and I do that by pushing and pulling. Nice little flick. And then I'm just barely touching the brush to the skin to create a thin line up, and then I push it down to create a thicker line on the back edge of the wings. I do the same thing here. And the shape of the butterfly can differ. Sometimes it has pointy wings, sometimes not. I can make it a bit thicker in different places. I usually do a thicker line that's dividing the two wings, and then I can do some random wigglies on the outer edge of the bottom wing to create a really pretty shape. And I go back and do some wing veins. If y'all pull up some photos of monarch butterflies, that's essentially the type of wing vein pattern that I do on all of my butterflies, because it's nice and simple. I just do a larger shape here and connect all these outer lines to it. I do a little
what would you call that? I don't know, some kind of circle shape that mirrors the wing shape, and then just connect all the lines. At this point I can wipe off paint from my brush to do smaller antennas, some dots there. I do very light black here. Sometimes it's just not even touching. And that's all for the black. And then it's all white. I get a really wet white first, and y'all know I love to splatter paint. So I will cover up the person's eye and splatter, get more water. I will splatter some white at the end and the top area a bit, and also sometimes I have to, flick it off to the side to make sure it's not too much, because I want some really tiny speckles on the butterfly too. It's just a quick way to add detail, and then the rest is larger dots, just random ones on a person's face, so I am kind of going pretty quickly. But if you imagine 2 for each block, see these little blocks here? Block, 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 boop, 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 boop. And it's kind of not so much a dot on the outer edge all the time, it's just a little pulled dot. What would you call that? What shape would you call that? Not a dot, but a little blob. Ah, tiny spiders on me! Can you see it? And then this is where I also add a touch of outlining randomly, something to split up these 2 wings there, just a soft line with the paint that's left over on my brush. I can do some wiggles inside of these blocks. It is much easier to be loose, have a nice loose painting when you move a little faster and let go a bit more. Sometimes I'm not even looking at the part of the painting that I'm painting. I'm looking at what I'm going to be painting next. That isn't going to make sense at all, I don't think. Saying it out loud, it doesn't make sense, but I can do some random teardrop shapes here and there. And that is my butterfly. Well, this will be the butterfly that I use as a crown. So the same thing, I'm doing the same wing shapes. I usually do a mark to mark the center. And you can also do an X, so down here will be your bottom wings, up here will be your top, and you can keep the corner, the light corner of your brush right where those 2 lines meet, right in the center of that X, and then go out from there. And then pull forward. I can push my brush down to create the shape that I want. And this is where you can experiment and learn how to manipulate your brush to create the shape that you want. Sometimes I always lead with the darker color on the edge. Otherwise, you can flip it and keep it on the inside like that, and also flip it again to put it on the outside too. In the middle of the forehead, I do that same gentle touch of swirls of color around, maybe on the bottom a bit, just to put more color on the skin around the design. And then I just kind of half rinse my brush. I still have a lot of that color on there, and I dab it on the towel a whole bunch, and then I can pick up a bit of a contrasting color, like red, just real quick. I don't even fully load my brush, and then I can kind of put that on there. You can see I don't even need to fully load the brush to get some more color on there. I added some glitter, and then I'm going to do everything that I did on this large butterfly on the small one. I take the black and I make the body of it. I use my pinky always so that I can hover the brush so that this is what's supporting my hand, and I'm able to control the brush a lot better. And I push it down to create thicker lines. I like a nice thick line going across the center. And then I'm pushing it down and wiggling it here, and I stop and lift the brush so that it's just the tip touching the skin. And then you can do your butterfly shapes here. Maybe add a bit more black, add a bit more water so that the lines are crisper. Can do the antennas, you can do a quick squiggle if you want to with black. And I do a bit of splattering with the paint on the edges. Oop, I keep knocking that. On the edges of the wings to create extra speckles and details. And then I create a thicker consistency and do larger spots. And there's a butterfly. This is when you can optionally add more details going around it, just gently here and there. And when it's in the center of the forehead, you can do some kind of detail, crown-like thing, teardrops, whatever you'd like in the center of the forehead. You can also do this as a necklace. So those are all of my butterflies for you. I hope y'all liked this butterfly video. I hope you get something out of it, and yeah, most of my videos will probably be pretty talky and vlog style and showing lots of bits of nature or things that I just thought were pretty or nice or interesting in some way. So yeah, that's it. I will see you in another video someday. I don't know when, but not too long.
Bye!